A while ago I made a video on what makes a mystery box story. I outlined the 10 things a story has to do to be a good mystery box. Well, in this series I'm reviewing every mystery box story I know, checking off each item on the list to see how good of a mystery box it is. This episode I'm checking out Marvel's brand new mystery box, WandaVision. WandaVision is the first Marvel Cinematic Universe TV show to come out in Disney+. It's a chance for Marvel to finally dive into two side characters that haven't gotten a lot of screen time in the movies, Wanda Maximoff and Vision. Its final episode just aired like 2 weeks ago, so I had to jump on the trend and make a video about it ASAP. If you've been anywhere on the internet lately, you've heard about this show, and you've heard people theorizing about this show. I haven't seen this many people picking apart a TV show while it was running since, Westworld. I've been thinking about this show a lot. The way people have been treating it week after week, it sure seems like a mystery box story. The litmus test I like to use for this is that if people are theorizing about it, it's a mystery box story. But is it though? There are a few key differences that make it not only different from other mystery boxes I've covered in the past, but also different from any TV show that's come before it. The first major thing that separates WandaVision from other mystery box shows is that this is not the beginning of the story. Every mystery box story I know has a definite start that gives you an entry point into the mysteries. WandaVision is a follow-up to the MCU movies. Specifically, it's a follow-up to Avengers Endgame, and by proxy, every Marvel movie that came before it. This isn't like the Marvel Netflix shows, which mostly exist in their own little bubble. And it's not like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or Agent Carter, which only require knowledge of at most one movie before you watch. You will have no clue what's going on in WandaVision, unless you've seen like half the MCU beforehand. This is an interesting point in Marvel's history. We're coming off the heels of Endgame and the end of Phase 3. Plus, it's been almost an entire year since any MCU content has come out, because of the pandemic. We're at the start of a new era of Marvel, and there's a lot riding on this show. People are digging into it for any clues that might tell us where the MCU is going from here. The other major difference between WandaVision and the usual mystery box formula is that WandaVision is an adaptation. Adaptational mystery boxes are very rare, because the whole appeal of them is to figure out the puzzle that the plot is creating, and you can just look at the source material for any answers. WandaVision is based on Marvel Comics. There's no one comic series that serves as a direct inspiration for the show, it's more of an amalgamation of storylines. And the MCU has diverged from comic source material in the past, so nobody knew exactly where the show was going, but a lot of comic fans pieced together key plot details before they were revealed in the show. A lot of online theorizing is focused on this, trying to figure out which comic elements will be used in the show and how. There's no doubt that WandaVision has gotten Marvel fans really excited, but how well does the show work as a mystery box story? Let's find out. And spoilers for all of WandaVision, and Avengers Endgame, and the entire MCU. Number 1. Start with one huge, obvious mystery. So, Wanda Maximoff was first introduced in Avengers Age of Ultron, where we learned that she and her brother Pietro got superpowers from the Mind Stone. In that same movie, the Mind Stone was used to create Vision, an android in a vibranium body. The two of them begin a romance off to the side in Captain America Civil War. Then in Avengers Infinity War, Wanda was forced to kill Vision to stop Thanos from getting the Mind Stone, and it doesn't even work. No! Wanda gets snapped away along with half the universe. When she comes back in Endgame, she's pissed.
You took everything from me.
I don't even know who you are.
We also get a real glimpse of how powerful she really is, almost taking down Thanos single-handedly. Then the next time we see her is right here, in a 50s-style sitcom with Vision, alive, as her husband. This is the opening mystery in a nutshell. How the heck did we get from this to this? What is this Westview place, and how did Wanda and Vision end up here? This mystery requires that you have context from the Marvel movies, but even if you somehow picked up the show without seeing Endgame first, you'd still see that this is more than a silly homage to 50s TV. As the show goes on, it evolves from 50s sitcoms to 60s to 70s to 80s to 2000s to today. And as it goes, does the show introduce more than one mystery? See, it depends on how you look at it, because yeah, there are several mysterious things in the story, but there aren't as many mysteries as it seems. There are a few. There's Geraldine, for example. She's clearly different from the other people of Westview, but we don't know how.
I actually don't know what I'm doing here.
There's also the helicopter, the beekeeper, and the radio message.
Wanda. Who's doing this to you, Wanda?
Not that these things are that mysterious. Taking them together and noting all the SWORD logos on them, you can very quickly piece together that these are all attempts at communication with Wanda by SWORD, a group related to S.H.I.E.L.D. Most other mysteries, though, are really just part of that first question. What is this place and how did Wanda and Vision get there? Westview, or the Hex as it's called in later episodes, is full of weird stuff. But very few questions about those weird things stand on their own. They always connect back to that central question. Take this moment, where Vision suddenly takes on the appearance of his dead self from Infinity War for a second. You could wonder, was that a hallucination of Wanda's? Was Vision resurrected? Or was something reanimating his corpse? Either way, who or what is bringing him back to life? Probably the same force that created this whole sitcom world thing. What is this place anyway? You see what I mean? Watch, I'll do it again. In episode 3, Wanda gets pregnant and gives birth to twins in the span of like a day and a half. How? Did Wanda will the kids into existence? Are they real? Or are they just constructs, products of the Hex? How does the Hex work anyway? Where did it come from and who made it? Agnes, their neighbor. She totally knows more than she's letting on. Maybe she's the one behind the creation of the Hex. Oh wow, that one was fast. These are all mysterious things, yes, but they're not new questions. They don't introduce new complications to the plot. Take the big question from Lost, what is the island? And a smaller question, where did Walt get his powers? We learned that Walt had his powers long before he ever came to the island, so it's not unreasonable to think that the two are unrelated. With all of WandaVision's mysteries, you can draw a straight line from the creation of the Hex to each and every one of them. This only gets more true after episode 4. We get to see the Hex from the outside. Geraldine is revealed to be Monica Rambeau, a SWORD agent, and the little girl from Captain Marvel all grown up. Along with Jimmy Woo from Ant-Man and the Wasp, and Darcy from the Thor movies, and their cartoonishly evil boss, Hayward. We see that Westview is a real, physical town in the middle of New Jersey that's being taken over by a magic spell, and all the people inside are being mind-controlled. Most importantly, we find out that it's Wanda herself who made the Hex. The specifics are unclear, but this sitcom life is something that she made subconsciously out of her grief-stricken mind.
It's Wanda. It's all Wanda.
After this point, there really is only one mystery in the show. The episode cleared up any lingering small questions we had. Since now we generally understand what the Hex is, the central question evolves into, how and why did Wanda do all this? How do her powers work? The second half of the show has plenty of twists and turns, but again, none of them introduce their own distinct questions. Like the moment where the new Pietro shows up.
She recast Pietro?
This is a huge deal, because if you didn't know, this guy, Evan Peters, plays the Pietro from the X-Men movie universe, not the MCU. Which Disney now owns because they bought Fox. So does that mean that Wanda accessed the multiverse and pulled him in to replace her dead brother? Or is he a creation of the Hex that happens to look like Evan Peters and Marvel is just trolling us? This is a huge deal for the MCU at large, but for this story here, whatever the answer is just another thing that the Hex can do. Here's my obligatory disclaimer that this is not a criticism of the show's writing. This just means that it doesn't fit very well into the mystery box formula. So I wouldn't call the mysteries interconnected because there aren't enough mysteries to interconnect. The mystery that is there is known to the audience though, as the hundreds of fan theory posts make obvious. On that point, there's a weird moment where the show kinda does my job for me. Jimmy Woo has himself a whiteboard where he writes down a bunch of questions that we, the audience, are also asking. It's a fun little meta joke that shows that Marvel Studios really understands its audience. No, it's not long. The show is only 9 episodes. I will say though that even though there's basically just one mystery, that mystery is very well paced. We get details about the Hex one piece at a time, slowly closing in on an answer to how it works and where it came from. And we get a perfectly timed info dump halfway through in episode 4. There's never a point where we learn too much at once, and there's never a point where we get impatient with the show for dragging the answers out. Also, the show uses some pretty unique tricks to show that everything we see is diegetic. The sitcom style things we're seeing can get weird sometimes. You might assume at first that, say, the theme songs, end credits, or commercials are non-diegetic, since they take place outside of the Wanda and Vision story. Especially since the commercials contain symbolic references to Wanda's psyche. But we see all of this stuff on the TV in SWORD's research base. And we learn from Monica's clothes that the Hex is creating all of this by converting existing matter. The mechanics of it are a little unclear, but everything in sitcom land, even the commercials, exists as part of the physical world. They're diegetic. Let's check out some mystery box tropes. For the shady organization running things in the background, we have S.W.O.R.D. Even though some S.W.O.R.D. employees, like Monica, become point-of-view characters, the specific intentions of Hayward and the higher-ups are kept obscured for most of the show. No literal mystery box, but there is plenty of non-linear storytelling and playing with time. We have episode 4, which runs concurrently with the first 3 episodes of the series.
Wanda. Who's doing the C, Wanda? Wanda. Who's doing the C, Wanda?
Then there's this.
No.
Finally, the mysterious figure who speaks in riddles and hints? Agnes. Duh.
The devil's in the details, Bev.
That's not the only place he is.
So in the 7th episode, we finally get confirmation that Agnes isn't who she says she is. She's a witch, whose real name is Agatha Harkness, a move that comic fans predicted weeks in advance. Even if you don't read comics, you might have noticed that her rabbit is named Senor Scratchy, which comes from Old Scratch, a nickname for the devil. Ugh. While she's standing there, petting her satanic rabbit, we get treated to a catchy little song that explains,
It's been Agatha all along.
But that's not really true. Agatha had nothing to do with the Hex. She's just there to figure out how Wanda's powers work so she can steal them.
How do you not know the fundamentals?
Who are you?
Who are you?
It's definitely still Wanda who made the Hex, although the Demon Rabbit's involvement is still up in the air. We get a few things cleared up in episode 8's flashback sequences. Wanda didn't actually steal Vision's body. The Vision we've been seeing in this show, Wanda created from nothing and is tied to the Hex. Same with her kids. It also retcons her powers so that instead of the Mind Stone giving her magic, she always had it and the Mind Stone just awoke it. And Evan Peters as Pietro, turns out it was a troll after all. He's not the Pietro from the X-Men universe. His character's name is Ralph, Agatha's, husband.
The only way Ralph would remember our anniversary is if there was a beer named June 2nd.
You're Ralph Boner?
Boner.
Although the show is light on specifics in this area, and the door is open for Marvel to retcon this later. By the final episode, all the mysteries are gone, and we get a very typical Marvel final battle. It's the classic, hero fights a villain with the same powers cliche, but twice. Wanda fights Agatha, and Vision fights the evil recreated version of himself that Hayward made. Every character on all sides gets involved, and we get a very big, satisfying battle. The bad guys lose, Wanda turns off the Hex, and everything is wrapped up in a neat little bow. This is one of the few mystery box stories that maybe wraps up too much. There's basically nothing left to wonder about once it's over. The one thing it leaves open is the nature of the twins. Yeah, we learn that Wanda created them from nothing, and when the Hex goes down, they disappear. But there's also this line.
Boys, thanks for choosing me to be your mom.
And in the post-credits scene, this happens. This suggests that the twins are something more than what we thought, and that they're out there in the ether somewhere waiting to come back. But I'm not counting this as an unresolved mystery. Why not? Because I'm totally confident that the MCU will bring this back in the near future. WandaVision might be over, but as I keep saying, WandaVision doesn't stand on its own as a story, it's part of something larger. Once Billy and Tommy inevitably come back in Multiverse of Madness or another Marvel movie, every last bit of story from WandaVision will be exhausted. So yeah, WandaVision explained a little too much for a mystery box story. It has no trouble with setup and payoff though. Every twist feels earned, and you really get the sense that the story was carefully constructed from start to finish. We've talked about mysteries for long enough, but how good are this show's characters? Pretty darn good. I might go so far as to say that WandaVision is better at character development than the MCU movies are, at least where Wanda and Vision are concerned. Both of them have always been minor side characters in the Avengers lineup, so we never got to know them all that well. In the movies, their romance blossomed almost completely off screen. In Civil War, they're kind of flirting, and then in Infinity War, suddenly they're madly in love. When Vision died, I'll be the first to admit, I only cared because Thanos got the Mind Stone, not because I was sad he was dead. After watching WandaVision, I feel like I finally know Wanda and Vision, and that's the purpose of these Disney Plus shows, isn't it? to explore smaller, often neglected characters and relationships, the stuff that doesn't fit into the movies, and ideally set up some broader MCU stuff. This show nails both of those things. As this video wraps up, here are some of my favorite things from the show. All the aspect ratio changes when the show switches from sitcom land to the real world. Jimmy Woo. In Ant-Man and the Wasp, I found him kind of annoying. But here, he's as dorky as he was then, but he's also actually competent. And that's not a combination you see a lot. Whenever he's on screen, he's just so much fun.
Trouble is, my friends at Quantico will probably have something to say about your plan when they arrive. Inside the hour.
You're bluffing.
Am I? Hey, I've got a situation and I was hoping you could get here. Inside the hour?
And that moment in the first episode, before we knew what the show was going to be, it gave me goosebumps.
Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it.
WandaVision is a good show. It's well written, and it gave its fans exactly what they wanted and more. It doesn't fully commit to the mystery box approach, though. Why not? Some of it is because of the points that I already made, about how the show is part of a larger story and that it's based on comics. That means the audience is way more outside context as to where the plot is going. If you look through all the fan theories that came out as the show was running, the majority of them are about stuff like which comic book villains are going to be in the show, what things from older MCU movies or X-Men movies are going to come back into play, how is this show going to lead into Multiverse of Madness, in which Wanda is supposed to play a major role, and who's going to be that huge cameo that Paul Bettany keeps teasing. For that last one, turns out that was himself. By comparison, there's very little discussion that analyzes the show's mystery on its own terms. To the fans, the ones who care enough to pick it apart anyway, WandaVision is more than just one TV show. It's part of a huge interconnected franchise. That outside context gets in the way of WandaVision developing its own mysteries, its own identity. But it's more than just that. A huge reason why the show turned out the way it did, I think, is because of the MCU's immense popularity. Marvel movies are the biggest media thing in the entire world right now, and Marvel Studios is really good at making their stuff appeal to everybody. And the thing about mystery box stories is not everybody likes them. Mystery boxes make you think, they make you work for it, and when you just want to kick back and stream some superhero junk, you don't want to work that hard. If Marvel had gone full mystery box here, they would have risked alienating a lot of their fanbase. Because of this, what we ended up with was a show that plays at being a mystery box story, but the mystery it presents is simplistic. The questions it asks are small, easily digestible, and leave very little room to imagine wild possibilities outside of what would fit in an MCU product. There's this great article on AV Club that puts it really well. There's no mystery here, no possibility that uncertainty could possibly persist, just a rapidly diminishing list of things we haven't been shown yet. So maybe WandaVision is lousy as a mystery box story. If you come to the show because you're a fan of Westworld or Twin Peaks, you might be disappointed. But for the average Marvel fan, this fits in nicely with the rest of the MCU in style and tone, while also introducing you to some storytelling techniques you haven't seen before. WandaVision gets a final mystery box rating of 5 out of 10.
But I don't need you to tell me who